And we are live. What's good, Josh? Your man, DL Saint. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I really want to know podcast. This could have easily been a downrange one because we're kind of talking politics, but it's really about money. And I don't know a lot about how our system works. So we're going to keep it under. I really want to know because I do. Man, it's crazy out there, y'all. It is crazy to have no idea what's going on with um system right now, man. It's crazy out there, yo. I mean, it's to the point where it's just like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like what are we doing? You know what I mean? It's is it all about the crash out? Is it gonna be this?
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do?
Is that what it is? I just got demonetized. Just that fast. I forgot what that sound was on that sound bite. I haven't been using my board as much as I used to. I need to remember they don't want you to use the F bomb. But but yeah, it is what it is. Sister Candace is in the house. What's good, love? Always a pleasure to see you. How you feeling? How are you feeling? Good to see you. Yeah, we're gonna sit here. We're gonna talk about a little bit of money. I don't know how long this live is gonna go. Um, seeing how I already dropped the F bomb in the first 40 seconds or so, I think I'm already like can't monetize it. So whatever. We're gonna have there's a lot of videos, clips we're gonna watch in here anyway. So I wasn't planning on trying to monetize this one. I really just want to get this information out there. I really people when you watch this, if you're watching it live, what's up? If you're watching it in replay, right? Leave comments. Tell me tell me what you're thinking. Are you even thinking about this stuff? Is it on your mind? I get it. The vast majority of us don't have over $250,000 in any one bank account. But even though you're not playing with a whole bunch of money like that, the effects of what's going on will affect the money that you have. We're headed like we're gonna get in here. We're gonna get into this. We're gonna be talking about inflation. The purchasing power is about to go way down. You thought eggs were expensive, you know what I mean? This past month, you just wait. You just wait. Oh man, there's a lot going on. So, um, where do we start? So I was just kind of sitting around watching the different feeds, CNBC, Kitco, Fox Business, and there's a lot of discussion on what's going on. You're hearing terms like hard landing, you're hearing terms like breakage, you're hearing about inflation. The FDIC is broke. We've talked about the FDIC thing on this platform. You look at how much money is out there that's unsecured above that $250,000 is guaranteed by the FDIC, and the Fed and the Secretary of Treasury came out, and that's Janet Yellen, Secretary of Treasury, and then you got Jerome Powell heading up the Fed, and they're doing this backstop thing, and they're saying we'll back all of the unsecured money. Right, one of them said that, and the other one was like, "I don't know, we didn't say that." So now you got this, there's this like uncertainty out there is affecting the markets. You're gonna hear them talk about that too, because the messaging is off. And so it's like, what's going on? This is a bailout, and if this is a bailout, that means we're gonna wind up printing more money or conjuring more money up on the keyboard. And if we do that, it's gonna be inflation. The whole point, of the quantitative tightening was to fight inflation, to bring inflation down, which meant we're going to turn off the money printer and we're just going to buckle down and deal with it. But then this thing happened with Silvergate Bank, which led to Silicon Valley Bank, which led to Signature Bank, which led to First Republic. Now Comb America is involved in that. And there's a bunch of other banks out there. Yo, what's going on? Right. So then you say, okay, so if the government is going to back everyone over the $250,000 limit, when we're talking about your deposits in banks, if they're going to do that, there are trillions of dollars out there that's unprotected. This is not covered by the FDIC. It's over $250,000. Trillions of dollars. There's only hundreds of billions of dollars in the account. So where's that money going to come from? You're going to hear all this kind of stuff. You're going to hear it all. Sister Candace, absolutely defund Janet and Jerome for real. The JJ twins got to go, man. They've done a horrible job. Horrible job. And keep in mind, Janet Yellen was running the Fed before she took her current position, right? If I'm not mistaken. So if there's anyone really, really to blame for all this the one person who can say, she can't say I didn't know because she was right there. But let's get into it. Let's get into the first one. This was on CNBC. It's a Squawk Box. It's a bunch of talking heads that I don't know. So just kind of watch this, the bottom thirds will tell you who this guy is. But we definitely want to listen to what he has to say. This is definitely an insider. Let's bring this up. And let's check this out because this is crazy. Crazy.
Rate hedged. It couldn't have happened to us, but because the banks face no consequences with the held to maturity category, they decide to save some money and not put any hedges in place. That's irresponsible, but it is the rule book that the OCC and the government, the Treasury, and the Fed oversaw, and they didn't even stress test these banks if rates rose. So they should have been the first ones to see what they were doing to the regional banks. And by raising interest rates, even yesterday, they're just increasing the losses in the regional banks, which means they still have to go and borrow additional capital from the Fed.
So what he's talking about these banks, these regional banks who were out there doing what Silicon Valley did. They took all this money and they were betting on these T-bills and whatever, these treasuries that were way down the road, 10 years. And he's talking about the rules. It's like, okay, they get to mark to market. Right. That's what they're talking about. You hear that a lot. They mark to market when they're doing their books. They're not talking about the money that they're losing today. They're talking about, today they're good, but they're carrying debt. They're carrying a loss on their books, but they don't have to say anything about it because the loss hasn't been realized today. So so they're talking about that sort of thing, right? These banks were out there going crazy on these bets. They were betting on interest rates not going up. Interest rates went up. So they're going to lose a whole lot of money. And then confidence was lost and it was a run on the bank. And that's what happened with Silicon Valley Bank, right? And it kind of happened with Silvergate Bank too. But Silicon Valley Bank is the one everybody wants to focus on. And then Signature Bank had the same issue. And the government had to come in and backstop. That's the code word they're using, backstop. The government had to come in and bail them out. Right? So, and like he's saying, these people within the banking, these CEOs, these executives, they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything illegal. They were using the rules, but the rules were stupid. And the one entity that was supposed to see all this coming was the Fed, right? Was the federal regulators. It'd be like the Fed and maybe, the Fed secretary and her people. They should have saw this coming and they didn't. They didn't see it coming. So the banks are like, all right, this is what we're going to do. That's what he's talking about.
So it's sort of like what he said was disingenuous, right? Yes, if you have an unlimited borrowing capacity from the federal government, you have a sound regional banking system. And the regional banking system is not small. I was actually surprised that it makes 70% of all commercial real estate loans. And it's the guy who wants to buy a tractor or the guy who wants.
Regional banks make up 70% of all the small business loans. Think about that for a minute. If the regional banks are the ones loaning out the money to the average folks, the people who want to start a business, the people who want to expand a business, right? Think about that. You're out there, you have a small landscaping business that you and your son or you and your daughter done built up from nothing, but you want to expand. You know what? We need another truck. We need to get one of those Ford F-250 trucks with the big bed so we could do more stuff and take on more work and grow. You're going to have to get that business loan to get that truck from one of these regional banks. You're not going to be able to get it from there. Or you got to, you want to expand your business. All right, we're trying to grow. You're going to have to get that loan from one of these regional banks. 70%. That's a lot. That's where people are going. And so are we headed to a place in our society, in our economy, where the little guy can't get the credit he needs to grow, to expand, to maybe take care of his payroll or her payroll? Or is that where we headed? Because if we are, that's going to hurt.
wants to fix up that little shop on this corner. And it's going to be pretty hard for the JP Morgans, though I adore them, or the B of A's, who I also like, or the Goldman Sachs's, who don't really do that, but our national bank, to actually replace the system. And what the effect will be, or will accelerate what I talked about earlier, which is that the crisis in real estate and in fixed assets is slow. And as loans mature, and you see, now you're seeing every day you'll hear about an office building going back to a bank, and that the Fed was also all over they were spending a lot of time on the systemic banks and telling them, do not increase your exposure to office buildings and real estate. Well, I just wonder who on earth they think is going to refinance that office building.
You hear what he's saying? Like he's kind of talking. You got to kind of stay with him a little bit. He's a little bit jumbled there, but when we talk about small business, there's small businesses out there who, they have these big old skyscrapers, right? That's considered small business. It was crazy. Honey got, millions and millions and millions of dollars and still considered small, right? They will go get their needs met through these regional banks. And he just said, like, he loves the big banks, but they don't do this. It's not the big banks to handle this. Like, who's going to handle it? So he's saying, all right, you're going to see possibly these banks having to take back these properties because they can't finance these businesses. They're going to take back these skyscrapers or whatever. Forget about the skyscrapers. What about those little strip malls? They're going to start taking those back. Businesses are going to start going under because they can't get the credit they need to conduct business. Because the places where they would go to get their funding, to get their capital, to get what they need to get started, or the regional banks, the smaller banks. And if they're not doing it, who's going to do it? And that's what he's talking about right here. This is crazy.
Park Avenue. And I think if you take that to its logical conclusion, values will drop. It's a $3 trillion asset class, office buildings in the United States. It's not small. And it's a situation where they don't lend and other people can't lend. These buildings will go down. Cities and municipalities rely on real estate values to pay for all their services. Receipts go down, and you wind up in a really bad place, which you can see. You do not have to see the car hit the wall to know that it's going 8,000 miles an hour, and it will hit the wall.
Man, did y'all hear that? Dude was keeping it 100. He basically was saying it's going to crash. That's what he was saying. That's what he said right there. It's going to crash. If you take away this, like they're talking about, he's really focused on these big buildings and all that. He's talking about a multi-trillion-dollar asset class that may step out of that space, then all that whole house is gonna fall. Think about that. This is gonna be way worse than 08 if he's right. If he's just a little bit right. And he's not the only one talking about this stuff. Brother Primal's in the house. What's good, fam? I don't think we got to worry about a bank buy-in, bro. I don't even think we got to worry about it, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. This is ugly. Sister Candace, with all this being said, the backstop bailout, how do we respond to those calling for their $10,000 in student loan relief, or those seeking for their child tax credits to be restored? Right? Ain't nobody even thinking about that. Then those are crumbs. Nobody's thinking about the crumbs right now when the whole cake is at risk, right? I think that's what it is. Brother Primal, make sure to diversify your accounts if you're over 250,000. Also, I suggest placing your large amounts in a big bank that has been deemed too big to fail. Absolutely. Brother Tarus was on yesterday and he said the exact same thing. That's where you want to put your money. You know what I mean? And that's why there's a big run on these regional banks, because everybody's thinking the same thing. Man, I ain't taking no chance, man. Get that money out of there and go bank with one of the bigs. But again, we're starting to implode, right? Our system, which doesn't work, is starting to implode. Nidus is in the house. What's good, fam? You know what I mean? Brother Primal, yes, bailouts are going to do a number on the interest rates. Yeah, they're already calling for interest rates to be lowered. We're going to show that here in a second. People out there saying the interest rate should be lower, which is crazy. Man, like I said, I'm no expert. I'm just an old dude who's retired, sitting in his attic, talking to his computer, having a conversation with his friends and the rest of the world, trying to figure this out. I mean, this is going to hurt. Like this is going to hurt bad. And the inflation side of it is the thing that has me most concerned. You're just going to print money to where the US dollar is worthless. It's just a piece of paper. It's not backed by anything. So you're printing out, we're just going to keep printing money or creating money and saying it doesn't work. And they know it, right? Jenny and Jerome understand how bad this is, and it seems like they're powerless to do anything about it. They're just making a bad choice, and everyone's gonna pay. Right? They're just making a big old crap sandwich, and everybody's gonna have to take a big old bite. Sister Candace, I don't know when is thinking about that, but how is it that all the money given to Ukraine, raising food prices, slant credit cards, slant mortgage interest rates, and bailouts for the 1%, helping the middle class? It's not. It's their game. They don't care. They can care less. They could care less. And the only thing that the small people could do really is rely on their elected officials to not allow this stuff to happen. And you can see how that's going. Right? You see how that's going. Backstop, bailouts, all the same. They're going to because they don't want these banks to go out of business. What? Let them go out of business. Like it's insane, right? Brother Primal, yeah, Primal Studies money printer goes brr. It's just man, that money is just coming, yo. Brother Primal, this is that Sister Candace. They're doing everything they can to get rid of the middle class. It's what it looks like, bro. That's what it looks like. It will be the elites and everyone else. Yep, it'll be the have yachts versus the have nots. Shout out to Andrew Tate. That's what it's going to be. Have yachts versus the have nots. And if you don't have a boat, you know what team you are on. So yeah, let's look at and there it is, Sister Candace. Like have yachts and the have nots. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Get a little bit of that red pill finance right there. You know what I mean? That's just being unplugged. It is what it is. We know where we at. You know what I mean? Get in where you fit in time, y'all. And this is where it is. And there's definitely a credit crunch. It's gonna be hard to get loans. And that's what worries me the most. So let's look at what they were talking about on Kitco News. I basically everything what I'm showing here today, what I'm sharing with you is what I basically watch daily. I read their stuff, I watch their stuff, I listen to what they have to say. Definitely please go over and subscribe over at Kitco. They got about 557,000 subscribers. They should have like 11 million. They really should. We need more people. Spread this around, y'all. Share this one. Let people know. You only have to share the video. Send a link, Kitco News. Send that to people. Say, hey man, check these people out. But yeah, they were talking, and the headline on this particular clip: more bank failures coming as Fed create back breakage. You know what I mean? And everyone's saying the same stuff. You're hearing this over and over again. It's not like it's just one person. They're saying this over and over again. So let's check out what they're talking about.
Raising interest rates, even though we've been saying that they'll carry on until they break something. Arguably, we're starting to see that something break with the banking crisis, but they're going to compensate for that damage with the actions that we've been seeing from the FDIC. How does that raising rates, bringing down inflation while trying to preserve the banking system all factor into what you anticipate happening?
So obviously he's trying to thread a needle. In fact, it was very telling that he started the press conference by saying, first, I'm going to address what's happening in the banking sector.
And she's talking about Jerome Powell. Danielle Booth is like real savvy. First time I ever saw her was on Patrick Bet-David PBD podcast. Shout out Valuetainment. She used to be on there all the time. I haven't seen her on there lately. She's been like real busy, but let's continue.
And then I'm going to talk about the economy, as if you can separate the two narratives and run them parallel to one another, which is rather insane. But he really is trying to maintain this parallel double narrative. And he thinks that because we haven't seen systemic risk, and he's right, we have seen breakage in the financial system, but we have not seen a break. We have not seen systemic risk where we see full-blown contagion. Banking regulators in Switzerland and the United States, they've been able to prevent a full-on global bank run at this point.
Well,
A full-on bank run because the governments are stepping in. We're talking like zero confidence in the banking system right now. So this whole fiat system around the world is falling, y'all. It's breaking apart. And it's only the governments around the world that are keeping it together. And look, that's scary. That is so scary. And people, again, like the regular Joe, the regular Jane out there, they're not really looking at this thing, right? They're just kind of like, well, this doesn't affect me, or I don't have time to think about this because I just left my job and now I got to go jump in the car and drive Uber for the next 6 hours. And then when I get done with that, I got to come home and jump online and work on my drop shipping business. The average American is way too busy to pay attention to what's going on, but we need to pay attention because if this continues the way it's going, and if these people are right, if the talking heads are right, listen, the inflation is going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Your purchasing power is going to be out the window. You know what I mean? Paying $10 for a dozen of eggs or something like that. Imagine that. Imagine if milk is more than gas. Imagine that. Imagine if you can't really afford to buy healthy food for your family. A lot of people live that reality already. But imagine that. Like, oh, I'm middle class. I'm making $100,000 a year, but I can't afford to buy my children's healthy food. I got to buy the cheap stuff that's going to kill you. Imagine that. Sister Candace, if great risk comes with great reward, why not let those folks fall on their face? Exactly. They should let them fall. It's just crazy to me how people with more can be given more time and time again. Yeah, they run the system. They run the system. It is what it is. Great point, though.
are we going to see contagion? Can the banks handle these rate increases?
Well, I think the banks have made it clear that the regulatory mechanism needs to be relaxed in some way for them to be able to contend with these massive unrealized losses that they're sitting on, because we've got not one, not two, but three banks that have attempted to raise capital and failed, right? Silicon Valley was the first. It's fairly apparent with Fitch downgrading First Republic after the close again, one further notch into junk territory, that First Republic has also failed to raise capital, the third being PacWest today. We're also learning. Regulators don't want to say, they don't want to scream fire in a crowded theater, but the
PacWest is another bank. Another one. We got Comerica and PacWest. Remember those bank names, y'all. Remember that, because you're gonna, within the next 2 weeks, you're gonna hear these names. Be more bailouts. These are all regional banks, right? Silvergate, Silicon Valley, Signature, First Republic, PacWest, Comerica. Remember these names, y'all. Wonderful 34. What's good, fam? I see you. Thank you so much for all the donations and all the love, man. You always taking care of a brother on that Cash App, man. I really do appreciate you, bro.
fact of the matter is, we're not seeing banks ride in like JP Morgan Chase did when it bought other banks during the financial crisis, like Bank of America did when it made the huge mistake of buying Countrywide during the financial crisis. And that's these are the days that come back to haunt the US government, because banks have a long enough memory to not step in and buy these flailing banks. That's telling you something that you're not reading in the headlines, but nonetheless, these banks are sitting in a state of they're in no man's land, because they,
Man, listen to what she's talking about. We're still talking about what happened in 08 because it was a Band-Aid. It wasn't a fix. And then people got drunk again with the low interest rates and the cheap and fast money. But again, the system wasn't fixed. It was just a Band-Aid, no regulation. You hear what they're talking about? Well, where was, Where's the regulation? The system's still messed up. But they running around here acting all crazy again. You know what I mean? Silvergate Bank, gone. Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, First Republic Bank, on the ropes, PacWest, Comerica. Remember these names. Remember these names, people. This affects each and every one of us. No more regional banks. It means that you can forget about starting business. The credit crunch is coming. The big banks, they're not into that. That's little money to them. How are they going to be able to get into the little money? They're not going to do it. And like she just said, they're not going in there to save these banks that went under. They did it back in 08 and they still messed up. And when they do step in and help, they're like, oh, I'm only going to help bits and pieces. I don't want all that because there's some bad stuff in there. I don't want the bad stuff. I'll just take this. Craziness, yo. Wonderful 34. People say that can't happen here, DL. Really? Exactly. It's happening here right now. Yo, this is going on today. America, y'all going to have to look up and see what's going on. Listen, I know you're working. It's time to multitask. I know you're working, but you got to pay attention in this. You're going to have to start sending them emails off to your representatives in DC. You're going to have to start going to the town hall meetings. Make it happen. You're going to have to start asking the tough questions and putting people in positions that could do some good and know what they're doing. People like Patrick Beck-David, people like these women you see on the screen right here, like the guy that was just on the screen. Peter Schiff should be another one. This guy's been talking about this stuff forever. He's sitting around like, what? Y'all acting like, what, y'all didn't see it coming? He saw it coming. And we got Peter Schiff on here too. Man, this affects all of us. This really affects the entire world. So goes America, so goes the rest of the world. Sister Candace, when the average American doesn't have an extra $500 for an emergency expense, why would they give a F about someone's account in excess of $250,000? You're right, but they should, because the inflation is going to affect every last one of us. Like, people look at this like, well, only people going to be hurt are the taxpayers. No, anyone who lives in America, whether you pay taxes or not, inflation is going to get us all. It's going to get us all. And what comes with inflation? What else is going to happen? People start losing businesses. Businesses start going over. The banks start taking stuff back. What goes up? Crime. If people can't get it legally, they're going to get it by all means necessary. Crime, you already see that, don't you? See that in some of these big states. Crime going up in the big cities. Crime's going up in the small cities. I mean, look at all the scamming that's going on. It's all about crime. This is crazy. Sister Candace, let them fail. Hold them accountable. I'm with you. Either way, we're going to get, listen, if you're down here at the bottom, if you ain't got a boat in the backyard, you're going to get wrecked. So it don't matter. Let them fail. Let them feel the pain too, a little bit. You know what I mean? Like the true 1%, ain't going to bother them because they really got bread like that. But still, we got to do something. We got to stop it somewhere. You know what I mean? We got to stop it somewhere. XFO, thanks for the message. Love to all. Yeah, love to you too, bro. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. But let's continue. Let's listen to what else Sister Danielle has to say.
Nobody wants to say that they failed.
So is it likely then that we are going to see more bank failures?
I think we are going to see more bank failures. I think that because we have not seen the biggest banks step up. And in fact, yesterday, Jamie Dimon himself was in the headlines trying to quash the anxiety about First Republic. But I didn't wake up this morning to see any headlines announcing that JP Morgan Chase had purchased First Republic. And I don't think that's going to happen, or it already would have at this point. And you saw with Signature Bank and it being bought that as the purchase was predicated on the buyer being able to get rid of all the bad commercial real estate loans. That's not a full acquisition.
Right. So
you see, it's right there, y'all. It's right there. Like, yeah, Jamie Dimon's talking all that stuff, but he ain't buying nothing. Right. And then when banks do step in and buy it, they're like, nah, we don't want the bad stuff. We only buy the good stuff. So who takes the Who takes the hit on the bad stuff? Who buys the bad stuff? The government. We do. You feel me? Like, this affects every single one of us. Did you hear what she said? It's like these people out here, the powers to be, they don't want to scream bank run. They don't want to scream bank failure. They don't want to scream systemic failure of the system in a crowded room. So what are they doing? They're saying, oh, everything is fine. While they walk around and they whisper in your ear, you better run, you better run. Building's on fire. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. Don't worry about it. It's under control. Hey, psst, psst, come here, come here. You better get out the building, man. It's on fire. Hey, everything's fine. That's what they're doing. And if they're not walking up and whispering in your ear, you're going to sit there and burn up. That's where we at right now. This message seems to be identical across the board. You have all these people who are in this business. This is what they do. They're money people. They're all saying the same thing. You know what I mean? Whether they lean left or lean right. Right now, they're looking at it like, man, this is what it is. They're all looking at the same thing. This is what it is. You know what I mean? So this next piece is from Fox Business. And this is the piece that has Brother Peter Schiff in it. And like I say, man, I rock with this dude. I got this off of his website, his YouTube channel. Go over there and subscribe. Check out what he has going on. He has about 534,000 subscribers. Peter Schiff, man, he's been talking about this a long time. So check him out. Sister Candace, are we not killing small businesses in the process with the rising interest rates? Yeah, we are killing them. Jobs numbers have risen as well. PPP round 2, right? And even with those numbers, remember, they're not counting all of the unemployed. They stop counting you after a certain point. I think if you've been on there over 5 weeks or something like that, they stop counting you or whatever it is. It's a cutoff. It's not like you went and got a job. They just stop counting you. So eventually those numbers are going to come out. People are going to be pointing that out to you like, man, these numbers are skewed. The real numbers are closer to this. And then these numbers are not, you got to adjust for inflation and stuff like that. A lot of times they don't do that. So again, the smoke and mirror effect is heavy. Sister Candace, you get a loan, everyone gets a loan. I'll take a loan right now. If I would take a business loan right now, you know what I mean? Everybody out there, y'all should be looking into LLCs and trusts, for real. I'm not gonna lie to you. Whatever you're doing, you should be looking for ways to do it the way they do it. You know what I mean? Man, play that corporate game, because that's the game we're all forced to play. Play that corporate game. Wherever it is you're doing, start your business. I don't care if it's a consulting business. I don't care what it is you do. LLC that, yo. Get that EIN number, man. Get that DUNS number out there. Start building some corporate credit if you can. I think the credit crunch is coming. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. So we're going to jump on this one, right? We're going to listen to the first minute or so. And let me pull this up. I'm telling y'all, I ain't going to lie to you, I'm nervous. I'm not a scared kind of dude. You feel me? But I'm a little nervous on this. I'm a little nervous. So let's check this out.
Panel here, Euro Pacific Capital Chief Economist and Global Strategist Peter Schiff and Nat Alliance Securities Andy Brenner. Andy, you sat here the last meeting and said that's going to be the last hike. Okay, we're not here to make anybody, squirm, but why did he raise and not pause this time?
Liz, he was concerned about the message he was saying. I think he made a huge mistake. There's no question the banking system's in terrible disarray, and it's just going to get worse. The negative arbitrage between going to treasury bills at 4.80 or money funds at 4.5 and banks paying 1 to 2%. Banks are going to continue to lose money and lose deposits. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And he did say that 6 banks are in trouble, or he used some kind of specific Fed verbiage to say that. So I think the banking system's going to get a lot worse, which is why you saw the 2-year yield go from 4.25 around noon to 4.125 when you just said it as you spoke, down to 3.95. And I think that's going to continue to happen. And you saw the 2-10 yield curve right at the beginning go to minus 63. And
I mean, and they're in the weeds right there. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't understand the lingo to the extent that I truly understand what he's talking about, but it sounds all bad to me. It sounds like all of their indicators are down, right? So he's in the weeds, but I did understand the first part of that. The banking system is in bad shape and is getting worse. Understood that. Understood. He also said there's going to be more banks going down. Brother Andy out here saying the same things that all the other people are saying in the space. Now, yeah, you look at, well, but look, the markets are doing pretty good. They, you know what I mean? What's going on? Y'all know it's a lag. It's an indicator. I'm trying to pull up. I got Market Watch on the phone. Let me see what the market did today. I ain't even look. You know what I mean? Didn't even look. Here where we at. Yeah, the Dow was up. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ all were up, barely, but they were up. Right? So that's what they're gonna say. Oh, the Dow's up. All right, keep waiting. Got tomorrow and then into next week. Good thing tomorrow's Friday. I bet you'll be kind of low tomorrow. You know what I mean? So they're all saying the same things. They're all saying that this guy, Brother Andy, is saying, well, they need to start lowering interest rates. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. They're like, but you know, we got to lower interest rates, and then, you know, quantitative easing, which has already begun. Right? And they're going to talk about that here too. But Jerome Powell is doing something that just doesn't make sense. He's trying to do both at the same time, and you can't. He did raise the interest rates. You know what I mean? He did go up the interest rates, but that's probably going to be the last time. You know what I mean? What do you go, 25 basis points or something like that? He should have went 50. Especially if he thinks I'm not going to be raises again, you should have went 75. You should put it up there. Why not? But he didn't. You know what I mean? So we're going to jump ahead a little bit. I mean, everyone's looking for an easy way out. There is no easy way out of this. Right? Once they started to raise rates, once they began that, put us on that path, you know, I think Jerome Powell, I got to stay on this path. That's all he's thinking about right now. That's all he's thinking about. Like, keep raising rates until something breaks. You know, Sister Danielle was saying, well, there's breakage, but nothing really broke yet. So, okay, keep raising rates. Let's listen to the next part of this.
No, we're not going to get anywhere near 2%, maybe not even in our lifetimes. That's how far off Powell is. You know, the reason that he hiked rates, he's borrowing a trick from a magician. It's called misdirection, because with the one hand, he's raising rates, but he's got another hand behind his back where he's just returned to quantitative easing. He's actually creating inflation. He's not fighting it. And I thought one of the most ridiculous comments he made is when he was kind of asked to explain that. And Powell denied that the Fed was back to quantitative easing. And the reason he said that it's not QE is his explanation was when the Fed was printing money and buying bonds because it wanted to bring interest rates down, that was QE. But now it's printing money and buying bonds, but it's doing it for a different reason. So even though it's exactly the same, it's not QE. So when you create inflation because you want to, it's quantitative easing. But when you create inflation because you have to, then I guess, you know, he pretends he's not doing it. But he is creating inflation. And so what Powell is now doing is pouring gasoline on a fire. He's just pretending that he's trying to put it out.
And I would think.
And that's what's going on right now. They really don't know what they're doing. And the thing is, we have instant information. We live in the instant information age. So there's no lag time. There's no waiting for the newspapers to print this out. There's no, well, let me wait for the next, you know, issue of the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or something like that. Nah, man, it's instant. As soon as he says something, you can watch the markets respond. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what to do. His team are just kind of sitting around like, I don't know what to do. You know, you got people like Brother Peter Schiff here and his brother Andy dude, like whatever you do, they're going to break it down. Like, man, this doesn't make any sense. Sister Candace is right. Foolishness. That's all it is. Absolute foolishness. You know what I mean? So we're going to jump ahead a little bit. Like I said, we'll get through this. I know a lot of people, like, you know, these episodes, man, like when we have these talks, when we bring this stuff up, you know, this kind of content, a lot of people don't really jump into it like that, but they should, because this affects all of us. You know what I mean? And right here, before we even hit play, I mean, All the regional banks are down at the time that they filmed this. First Republic was down. You know what I mean? Look at that. Look at that. Looks like First Republic is down. It's like 7.86%. PacWest Bancorp is down 11.34%. At least it was at that time. US Bancorp was down 4.45%. Look at that. Comerica, they talking about that. And we got to listen to this part, y'all.
But here in the United States, regional banks are under severe trouble. You know, SVB, you had Signature. I mean, the Fed last week had to put $440 billion into the system. The Home Loan Bank put another $300 billion. Liz, basically, that's effectively wiping out the whole QT that they've done in the last 11 months. And it's going to get worse, worse, and worse. I was scanning the headlines today, and you have West Bank had to get some outside sources of money. They've lost 20% of their deposits. And as you go on, you mentioned Comerica. I'm telling you that this is mushrooming. We need to lower rates 100 basis points. Forget about inflation for the moment. The expectation.
You just say 100 basis points?
100.
Yeah, 100 basis points. See, that's it. That's we gotta lower rates and forget about inflation for a month. I don't agree with any of that. But listen, remember, this is a different show. What did he say? PacWest, Comerica, right? They're all saying the same banks. These banks are in trouble for real. He said the Feds put $440 billion out there for these banks, right? So PacWest Bank, Comerica Bank. We already know about Silicon Valley Signature. We already know gone. We already know that First Republic got a whole bunch of money. Think about that. $440 billion from the Feds, another $300 billion from other banks. And it's still a problem. It's not fixed. These banks are still on shaky ground. Yo, like for real, what's going on? And like I said, they keep mentioning the same banks, Comerica or Comerica, right? Comerica Bank. You're going to keep hearing that bank. Pacific West, PacWest Bank. You're going to keep hearing that bank. And it's just a matter of time. Probably going to start hearing US Bancorp too. This is crazy. Just listen to the last little bit.
100 basis points. We need to get to 3 to 3.5 in order to stop the bleeding in the banking system. All right, that's what we need to do. And Powell's not ready to do that. He's not ready to think about that. But, you know, that's what he really needs to do. So,
right. So there's already the call to lower interest rates. What was the whole point of raising interest rates and going through all this stuff? And there's pain and it's just layoffs and all this other kind of stuff. We went through this process. We're just getting going. And now there are calls to stop that. You need to lower interest rates, quit raising interest rates. And he's like, we're not going to, forget about inflation. You can't forget about inflation. You can't. So let's listen to what Peter Schiff had to say about all this. 1 second. Let's see. Peter Schiff. And here we go.
Agree. I think this is the pivot. I mean, it's a soft pivot, but he made it clear that he eased his forward guidance. So I think the next move from the Fed is going to be a cut. But inflation is going to be much higher than it is right now when the Fed does that. So the Fed is going to have to give up this pretense that it ever has a chance of bringing inflation down. You know, I thought one of the most foolish comments that Powell made is he said that he didn't think there was any risk to the Fed in these swaps that they're doing with the banks.
Oh, right.
But, well, because he said the FDIC is insuring the banks, but the FDIC is broke. They don't have any money. The only way they're going to get money is if the Fed prints it. So all of this means more inflation.
I absolutely.
Did you hear that? I heard it first on Patrick Bet Davis podcast. They were talking about this. Now Peter Schiff's are talking about like the FDIC is broke. How you gonna back the stuff you ain't got the money to back it with? You just talking crazy. Like you don't even have the money. What are we doing here? Sister Candace, people are throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. Right? It's incompetence. It is. It's that and fear. Right? You got empty suits out here trying to do Superman's work. They don't know what they're doing. You're right. You're right, sis. 100%. Let's jump ahead. Let me see. That was 550 to 6. All right, let's jump ahead. Because hey, Schiff was he was bringing the noise, and I mean, lowering interest rate. I think that's what they're going to wind up doing. I think they're going to go back to lowering interest rates to try to appease the market. I think that's what they're going to try to do, and then inflation is going to get out of control. You know what I mean? We just going into it. This is an election season. Man, there's so much more hurt coming for us, y'all. Let's check this out.
You're never going to get effective regulation by the government. What we want is free market regulation. Unfortunately, we don't have that. This financial crisis has been obvious for years. Only government regulators are blind enough to miss it. But if the government wasn't there, if banks and their depositors, more importantly, realized that their money was at risk, if a bank failed, then banks would be acting a lot more responsibly, because people would not deposit their hard-earned money into a bank that was taking too much risk. But thanks to the government, no one cares.
And speaking of deposits, the FDIC insured everybody's in both Signature and Silicon Valley Bank. And now there is word that they may have to take on all depositors who have more than 250,000, which is that limit at the moment. Our Grady Trimble actually caught up just a few hours ago.
I mean, they're talking about these, like they're saying these things. There's no way that they could take on that burden. We already talked about they don't have the money. And we're gonna get to there's one more part here I want you guys to see, and then we're gonna wrap this up. But it's just, like they talked to Elizabeth Warren, there was like it was political talk or whatever. But at the end of the day, the system is definitely broken. Let's check this out.
But it's not really going to be taxpayer dollars. It's going to be inflation. See, every American, whether they pay taxes or not, is going to bear the cost of these bank bailouts.
Y'all see that right there? This is from the FDIC and from the St. Louis Fed. Right? The deposit insurance fund is $128 billion. $128 billion. The deposit insurance fund currently is $128 billion. Deposits in U.S. commercial banks is $17.6 trillion. How can $128 billion guarantee $17.6 trillion? Somebody tell me, if you're out there and you're like, you know this business, you in this world, you're a whiz kid, leave a comment below. Let me know how you can make $128 billion cover and make whole $17.6 trillion worth of risk. I'm just curious. Somebody let me know.
This new financial crisis.
We don't have enough money. Look on the screen,
inflation.
Peter.
Well,
the FDIC has $128 billion in its coffers right now. This would cost $17 trillion.
They have nothing. The Fed is going to print it. The Fed's balance sheet is going to explode. And the value of the dollar is going to implode. And the cost of living in the United States is going to double. It's going to triple. It's going to quadruple. And it's going to impoverish the vast majority of Americans. And they need to know the reason they're going to be so poor is because of the government. It's not because of the free market, because we don't have one. It's because of this big government. And Powell copped.
He's making a good point there, yo. That's a real good point. When it's all said and done, the average American is going to be like, oh, it was capitalism. It was the free market. The market's not free. It's not free. 2008 taught us that. All these banks we're talking about now, half these banks should be gone, if not more than half. Like Goldman Sachs, they let Lehman Brothers go out of business, but they shouldn't have been the only ones. Goldman Sachs should have gone out of business too. I think Citibank was in trouble. Bank of America was in trouble. They should have gone out of business. All these big banks that went out there and they gambled and they lost. They should have failed. That's a free market. Freedom to fail. Shout out to Patrick Bet-David. He talks about that all the time. We don't have a free market. Right? They're free to take your tax dollars and bail people out who made bad bets, if that's what you mean by free market. Because these banks, they should go out of business. All of them. And then someone else with better management and with a better plan can come fill their place. But because they backstop, they bail out, they take taxpayers' money and they bail out these business people, these businessmen and women who are out here making tons of money, and they made a mistake and they bail them out. That's not a free. That's not free. And then we get into the whole, inflation and all this other kind of stuff, man. I'm telling you, and Sister Candace is right. Yeah, they just gonna go out there and print more money. If you're gonna print more money, you still should let them fail. All right, we're gonna bail out or whatever. We're gonna use money to whatever to clean up the mess, but you're out of business. There should be no more of that bank or that institution. It should be gone, in my opinion. But I think we got a couple more minutes. Let's tell the last few seconds of what they have to say.
Out when somebody asked him, what about would you need some help from fiscal policy? And he says, well, we don't want to give any fiscal policy advice. That's BS.
Okay.
He should be giving advice
Andy?
when he knows the government is creating inflation by running these huge deficits. It's up to Powell to tell the government to stop doing that, to cut government spending. But he refuses to stand up for the American public.
Okay.
He doesn't really want to do his job. He's kowtowing to the Biden administration.
Let me get in here because
Facts. So I got to say to that. I agree with him wholeheartedly. Right? Remember the CNBC video? That guy was saying they should have saw this coming. That's their job. They should have saw this thing coming. It was them who should have stopped this before it even became an issue. They were asleep at the wheel. Right? So what's going to happen now? They're making these mistakes. I personally think, and again, I'm no expert. I don't know nothing from nothing, but I think there's going to be a credit crunch. I think it's going to be really difficult for Americans and businesses, American businesses, small business, to get money. I think it's going to be a credit crunch, and it was the whole not just the fact that we were looking at possibly another Great Depression back in 2008. It was the worry of credit freezing up back then. So there was a movie. I talk about this movie a lot. It's an HBO movie. It's called Too Big to Fail. There was a scene in that movie where Ben Bernanke, where the actor playing Ben Bernanke, was talking about credit. Ben Bernanke is an academic. He just studied the Great Depression and, his entire adult life, it seems. Like he's really a student of the Depression and what happened and all the ins and outs and all that, right? So there was a scene when he was talking about credit. And I want to end this stream with that scene. Talking about credit. And in this scene, he's talking to all of the elected official heads, like the top Republicans and Democrats. They were talking about TARP and all this kind of stuff. And it was like they built up to it was like a really big scene in the movie. And I just want to play that because I think what's going on now is what they were trying to stop back then. I think that's the deal. Let's check this out. Make sure the volume's up.
I spent my entire academic career studying the Great Depression. The Depression may have started because of a stock market crash, but what hit the general economy was a disruption of credit. Average citizens unable to borrow money to do anything, to buy a home, start a business, stock their shelves. Credit has the ability to build a modern economy, but lack of credit has the power to destroy it swiftly and absolutely.
And there it is right there. I totally believe in that. That makes sense. If we don't do something and do something fast and do something meaningful and do something that makes sense, I think we're headed to that. There will be a disruption of credit in this country, in this economy, and it's going to be devastating. Imagine if GE can't get a loan to cover their payroll. Imagine that. Imagine if Amazon can't get money to cover their maintenance on their vehicles or to cover their tech costs. Imagine that. And like I said, where it's really going to hurt is going to hurt down here in the trenches where us normal folk are. Not going to have an opportunity to grow because you won't have any credit. You feel me? I think we might be headed there, y'all. You know what I mean? I really do. Queen Smiley's in the house. What's good, love? Pleasure to see you. Thanks for coming through. Yeah, we're just wrapping it up. We were sitting around here talking about what's going on in the banking system. And again, us regular folk are going to get crushed. Unless they do something about it. We'll see. So far, they haven't really done anything worth doing. I ain't gonna lie to you. And Sister Candace said that scene was written by the creators of The Simpsons. LOL. That's hilarious. But you know what? That was a good scene. He did a good job. A good writer's a good writer. And if you can write comedy, you can write anything. Brother Jason's in the house. What's good, fam? Queen Smiley, like, that's real. It sure is real. I mean, I think that's where we headed. You know what I mean? I don't know how many months away we are from that point, but I think that's where we're headed. And I think it's gonna be kind of like going over a waterfall. At a certain point, there's nothing you can do to keep from going over that waterfall. You know what I mean? You're in the middle. You can't get to the sides. You can't get to the banks on either side. You don't have enough strength to pull yourself out of that strong current that's dragging you over. And I think once we hit that, just go right over. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Now, do I think America can recover from that? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Yes. It'll boil down to, okay, let's throw some people out of there who don't know what they're doing. Let's put some real people in there. I mean, the amount of money that America goes through. Yes. Because when you're looking at what's going on, it's all about not making a tough decision instead of cutting back like Brother Peter was talking about. Instead of cutting back and making a tough decision, they're like, oh, we're just going to raise the debt ceiling. We got to stop doing that. And at some point, it's going to be, oh, we can't do that anymore. So we're going to have to start cutting. And, you know, they're going to start with all the aid and all that kind of stuff. They're going to try to hurt a little bit, but eventually they're going to have to get to that sacred cow, that military budget. At some point, they're going to have to get to that military budget, $800 billion every year. They're going to have to get to that. You know what I mean? They have to get to it. They're going to have to get back to some real taxes. Like, oh, you know what? We're going to have to start corporations. Y'all going to have to kick in on this one. It's y'all fault we're here in the first place. No, you can't lead a country. If you take your country and you take your business and lead a country, you can't come back in. We're not going to protect you. So go to Ireland if you want to. It's going to take those type of hardcore decisions, right? It's going to lead to a lot of, you know, elected officials losing their seats. And then, hey, fingers crossed, it could lead to campaign finance reform. Could you imagine that? It could lead to overturning Citizens United. It could lead to getting rid of all the dirty money because everybody's going to be tracking every single dime. How you going to have $300 million to put to some campaign, but you only paying $100,000 in taxes? It's going to lead to some hard questions. Brother Dusto's in the house. What's good, fam? Sister Queen smiling. You know, we had partial convos about that. Word? Yeah. And I'm trying to keep the conversation going. And these writers get their vision from real world what ifs. They do. And I think that, you know what I mean? Like, this might be the one. This might be the one that kind of makes the real big shift. And that's why I'm calling it the great credit crunch, Brian. It's the great, you know what I mean? You had the big short, now you got the big credit crunch, the great crunch. And this might shake people awake, you know what I mean? But yeah, and the rest of the world is going to suffer too. But America can definitely come back from this on the other side. We can. You know what I mean? We're gonna have to do something about inflation. We can't just print the money. We understand that. It's gonna take people like Peter Schiff and Brother Andy, guys like Patrick Bet-David, people who understand money, truly understand money. And people who are willing to stand their ground, like, nah, that's what we have to do. This might lead to a pretty decent president. Of course, it's not going to be Biden. It's not going to be Trump. This could lead to someone we've never heard of. This comes from out of nowhere. This could lead to somebody like, this is the president we need. who's gonna be strong enough to say, hey, I can get this fixed in 4 years. And I don't want no money. Just get me in there. Let me take care of business. Like this could be. This could be. We'll see. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. Y'all see how I remain hopeful. Fingers crossed. It hasn't happened yet. Sister Candace, Brother DL, there's a theory that the creators of The Simpsons are time travelers. They have predicted such events as 9/11, Trump becoming president, etc. Hilarious. Hilarious. Maybe they are. That's why I referenced them having written that script. That's so funny. You have to look into that. You know what I mean? Sister Queen Smiley, she's like, what you said at Candace. Yo, hey, like I said, this is just a quick one. I just wanted to do a quick one. You know what I mean? We jumped in here real quick. I just wanted to do a quick show. Let's try to plant the seed, y'all. Let's get people to wake up and look what's going on. This is going to affect every last one of us. Go out there and find out what's going on in the car market right now, y'all. Go see what's going on in the car market. For those of you who have some good money, like, you know, like they used to call you upper middle class, you're not quite 1%, but you're getting close and you're sitting on cash, man, just hold on. There's going to be so many opportunities out there for you coming up. Real estate, residential, and commercial. It's going to be some great deals out there. Automobiles, great deals out there. If you want to get into some sort of lending, you could probably get out there and do bridge loans or whatever with people who have like some sort of collateral, either a vehicle, well, you don't want a vehicle, but definitely some sort of collateral, be it maybe fine jewelry or property or something like that. And if you got money like that and you can hold that collateral, boom, do some loans. There's going to be so many ways to make money out there if you're sitting on cash. If you're sitting on cash, y'all, it's going to be some ways to make money. And then, of course, you can always do business with the government because the government, you know what I mean? The day the government stops paying is the day we need to all really be concerned because it's about to go crazy. So I was going to leave it there, y'all. Thanks for rocking with me. Remember, PacWest, Comerica Banks. We're watching those banks. We're going to see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Remember that, y'all. The Feds put $440 billion into that regional banking system, and the other banks kicked in $300 billion, y'all. That's almost $1 trillion, $740 billion, man. And the banking system is still messed up. Think about that for a second, y'all. And we're not in a crisis? I think we are. So the Candace, man, I really like a new vehicle, but I'll be darned if I pay 7.5% interest on the car loan. Yeah, if you sitting on cash, you're killing it. You're killing it right now. If you're sitting on cash, you can get the best deals ever right now on vehicles. You can buy what you want. You sitting on cash money. But if you got to go finance it, 7.5% is probably going to be getting closer to 10%. Remember, with this 25 basis points, it's probably getting closer to 10% now. Same thing with houses, credit card. You know, watch out credit cards. You know what I mean? Try to get those credit cards paid off. I'm even stuck in a situation right now where normally don't carry balances on my cards, but some things happen and I wound up having to carry a balance. It's like, oh my goodness. You know what I'm saying? They get me. I'm just going to work harder and get this money up and get those cards paid off. Pay off your debt, pay off your credit cards, and don't let them get that money off you. Don't let them get that money off you. You know what I mean? Sister Candace, like, I still have about 34,000 miles on my 2017. Don't really need the car. Hey, there you go. You good. You winning. You winning. Well done, sis. You winning. So yeah, thanks for rocking out with me, y'all. That was fun. This is what we're doing. That was just a quick one. What's going on in the markets? We're gonna keep hitting it up. I'm gonna put out a bunch of shorts on this just to see if we can get people to think about this, man. Like, you know, everybody's out here doing these silly shorts on dancing and, you know, whatever shorts they're doing. I'm gonna keep putting these out. Try to get people to think and look like, is this guy right? And maybe they do some research and be like, oh my goodness. Right. We're coming into a presidential race. We got a presidential race on our hands. You know what I mean? Maybe this will help us pick a good candidate. You know, we know it. Like, again, Biden, no. Trump, no. Trump is destroying DeSantis right now. I'm going to do a show on that pretty soon. Trump is absolutely destroying DeSantis right now. Wow. The stuff that he's done is crazy. I don't know if DeSantis is even going to make it to the primary. I think Trump's going to put him out right now. Like, you just sit there in Florida. I don't think we're gonna have to worry about DeSantis until 2028. You know what I mean? Trump is that dude is vicious. So as far as on the Democratic side, I don't even know. I don't know. I'm about to start doing that. I'm gonna continue these banking stories and what's going on in the financial world, and then we're gonna keep playing around. The next episode of Downrange Podcast, we're gonna be talking about who could be the Democratic nominee. Biden wants the job, but Democrats will be stupid to back him. Just utterly stupid. So, Sister Queen Smiley, I was blessed to close on my home in 2019. Yes. I wrecked my car at the end of 2021 and had to get another car, set my soul on fire. Beat the crazy rate though. That's cool though. At least you got in with a good rate. You gotta have what you gotta have. You gotta have a nice vehicle, a safe vehicle for all them babies. You be, driving all over Texas. you need to make sure you get yourself a good, safe vehicle. Ain't nothing wrong with that, girl. Lady Nevo's in the house. What's good, sis? We just wrapping up right now. Yes, that's right. We got Queen Smiley in the building. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We doing big things right now. Yeah, and congratulations on the new home too, Sister Queen Smiley. Congrats. You know what I mean? So thanks, hey y'all. Thanks for coming through. If y'all just got here, you know what I mean? Check out Team Replay. I really appreciate it. Leave a like for me if you don't mind. You know what I mean? Check it out. Share this one with your friends. Get people to think about what's going on with this banking situation. People think it doesn't affect me, but it does. It affects each and every one of us. You know what I mean? So get the word out, y'all. Make it happen. This was fun. I'm glad y'all were rocking with me. You probably see me on Black Man Unfiltered. I think I'm gonna jump on there tonight. Hey, Queen, what's going on Black Man tonight? Is it y'all show? Mandrill was on last night, I think. I think it's Coach K. I'm gonna slide through there. I'm gonna see what's going on. I think it's Coach K. So if y'all ain't doing nothing, come by and check out Black Man Unfiltered tonight network. Probably slide over there. Yeah, it's a Dr. and Coach K tonight. So yeah, come over there. I'm definitely gonna pull up and support over there. Shout out to Suzette Speaks. You know what I mean? Definitely get over there and support Suzette as well. Y'all know what it is. I'm DL Saint. This is the DL Saint I Really Want to Know podcast. I'm gonna holler at y'all later. Peace.
Darn, that's the end.